Picture this. It's past midnight. The world outside is completely quiet, but inside these walls, the air is thick with secrets. Welcome back to another late-night deep dive. Today, we're peeling back the curtains on history's darkest corners, looking at the people who ruled with an iron fist, and honestly, absolute madness. But before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and drop your local time in the comments right now. Honestly, I just love knowing how far across the world these late-night stories are traveling and exactly what hour it is where you are. So, turn down your lights, get comfortable, and let's be real for a second. History isn't always written by the good guys. Here's what really happened. Cold rain is pouring down on London, turning the narrow streets into rivers of mud under a grey sky. Church bells echo across the city, while merchants pull canvas covers tight over stalls filled with fish, onions, wool, and damp wood. Smoke rises from crowded chimneys, mixing with the smell of horses, whetstone, and something sharper hidden underneath it all: fear. You're walking slowly through the alleys now, watching citizens talk in low voices, while royal guards patrol nearby with spears and lanterns. Every conversation in every tavern feels guarded. Every sermon in every church feels more intense than ever before, because Queen Mary I is sitting on the throne of England, and history remembers her by a name that no ruler actually wants: Bloody Mary. The strange thing is, Mary's story doesn't start with ult. It starts with rejection. Long before her reign was defined by public execute.ins and religious terror, she grew up as a royal daughter trapped in one of England's most chaotic families. Her father is Henry VIII, a king whose romantic decision-making style is basically like using dynamite to solve a household argument. A major historical fact sits at the center of Mary's life. Henry VIII broke England away from the Catholic Church after the Pope refused to cancel his marriage to Mary's mother, Catherine of Aragon. That one decision changed English history forever, and it absolutely destroyed Mary's childhood. Picture the young princess walking through the palace hallways now, and suddenly, all her security is gone. Servants who used to bow with respect have changed. Her mother has been pushed out of the picture politically, and Mary herself, she loses her status and her legitimacy in the eyes of the court overnight. Royal children rarely have control over their own lives. They're basically just pawns in the hands of adults who are obsessed with power. And these early insults, they leave deep scars. Scholars still argue today whether the religious persecution Mary started later came from genuine belief or from years of emotional trauma, political insecurity, and isolation in her father's unstable court. Honestly, it was probably a toxic mix of all of it. You're moving deeper into Tudor England now, where massive stone palaces stand right next to filthy streets, packed with butchers, beggars, and stray dogs. Noble women wear velvet gowns in deep reds and blues, while common workers struggle through the freezing rain in rough wool cloaks. The contrast feels brutal. Mary spent years in political limbo during her father Henry's reign, and later, under her half-brother Edward. Edward's Protestant advisors pushed England even further away from Catholic traditions. Churches changed fast. Ancient rituals just vanished. The Latin prayers people had known for generations were suddenly gone from the service. For many normal people, these changes were incredibly upsetting. In this era, religion touched every single part of life: birth, marriage, death, crops, disease, war. Everything was spiritually connected. People today sometimes underestimate just how terrifying religious uncertainty was in the 16th century. Imagine truly believing that your nation's spiritual decisions could send millions of souls to eternal hell. Suddenly, politics gets a lot more intense. When Edward VI died young in 1553, a succession crisis exploded almost immediately. Political groups tried to put Lady Jane Grey on the throne instead of Mary, But support for Mary, from both the nobles and the common people, grew like wildfire. And suddenly, after years of being an outsider, Mary becomes queen. London is filled with celebrations. Church bells ring out loud, bonfires light up the night. Crowds cheer as Mary enters the city under flags waving in the wind. After so many years of chaos, many people hope that stability is finally back. That optimism doesn't last long. Picture yourself now, walking through grand royal chambers where Mary kneels in prayer under flickering candlelight and a massive crucifix. Religious devotion defines almost every part of who she is. Unlike some rulers who use faith just for political gain, Mary seems completely committed to bringing Catholicism back to England. And honesty, combined with absolute power, can turn scary very fast. A bizarre detail of Tudor court life highlights the deep suspicions surrounding the crown. Royal food tasters are constantly checking every meal for poison, while servants memorize complex protocols that decide who can even speak to the Queen. One wrong move can ruin a career in a heartbeat. Meanwhile, England is heading straight toward the darkness. In 1554, Mary married Philip of Spain, and it sent a wave of massive anxiety through the public. Many English citizens were terrified of foreign influence taking over. Rebellions broke out. Protestant resistance started spreading quietly through towns and villages. Mary's response was brutal. A major historical fact defines her reign forever. Between 1555 and 1558, nearly 300 Protestants were condemned to death. Many of them publicly burned at the stake. Men, women, the elderly, and sometimes even teenagers. These executions became symbols of warning. Picture yourself now, standing in a crowded public square under black clouds, where terrified citizens gather around wooden pillars, piled high with logs. Priests are praying. Guards are keeping the restless crowd back. Somewhere nearby, church bells ring slowly and smoke rises into the cold air. Even imagining it is deeply unsettling. Burning people in public wasn't just about punishment, it was about terror. Authorities believed that seeing the suffering would discourage religious disagreement. Instead, many of these deaths created Protestant martyrs, whose stories spread across England with an intense emotional power. One especially famous figure was Archbishop Thomas Cranmer. They say before his end, Cranmer actually thrust the hand he used to sign a forced confession directly into the fire first, saying it deserved to burn. Moments like that stay burned into the public memory, and eventually, that memory becomes Mary's biggest enemy. Scholars still debate if Mary understood how much these executions trashed her reputation with the common people. Some historians think she genuinely saw the persecution as spiritual rescue, believing harsh punishment could save souls from eternal hell. Others argue that political fear and insecurity were driving her decisions. Either way, England just kept getting darker. You're walking through jail cells now, where accused heretics wait for questioning under damp stone ceilings and narrow barred windows. Outside, the London rain is constant, while rumours spread from tavern to tavern faster than any official announcement. A bizarre historical detail from that era feels almost absurd next to all this violence. Wealthy Tudor nobles sometimes carried tiny perfume boxes filled with scented herbs. Because the smell of the cities was so horrific, they believed the scent protected them from disease. Imagine holding a small gold ball of lavender to your face during a public execution, just to avoid breathing in the reality of medieval London. Human survival instincts are strangely creative. As time goes on, Mary's isolation grows. False pregnancies devastated her emotionally and politically. She desperately wanted an heir to secure a Catholic future for England. But no heir ever came. Philip stayed abroad for long periods. Public support just kept fading away. And maybe the worst part is, her methods failed. England did not permanently return to Catholicism. Instead, The killings helped solidify a Protestant identity across the country. Later, writers turned Mary into the ultimate symbol of religious cruelty, especially in John Foxe's famous book of Martyrs. The Bloody Mary nickname stuck for centuries. Picture her final days now, flickering candlelight on the palace walls, the soft tap of rain on the windows, advisors whispering nearby, while illness slowly drains the strength from a queen who was once welcomed by cheering crowds. Mary died in 1558, exhausted and deeply unpopular, and almost immediately, England shifts again under her half-sister, Elizabeth I. But across the English Channel, another royal court is already waiting, in a world of candlelit ceilings and suspicion, where Catherine de' Medici is quietly watching France drift toward a massacre. And just like that, another shadow from the past fades into the dark. But here's the thing, the worst monsters in history, they slept perfectly fine at night, while the rest of the world trembled. Makes you think, doesn't it? Anyway, that's enough heavy thinking for tonight. The sun is still hours away, and it's time to let your mind finally rest. If you want to keep drifting through these lost stories with me, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. But for now, close your eyes, sleep well, and I'll see you in the next midnight hour. Good night.